Alright, y'all. Sit down, lie down, squat down. But I'm back. Bell tells. So first, let me get this out. Don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't, please do so. I would greatly appreciate that. The second thing I wanted to say was Happy Easter. I hope you all are enjoying your time with family and friends and learn to live in the moment. Be sure that you live in the moment so you don't miss the memory. All right. Let's get going. So today I'm going to talk about Junior. I don't know if you all knew, but I was born and raised in the South. If you don't know yet, now you know. But I'm sure y'all have figured that out by now. So my grandparents have had a big farm, and I grew up going out to the farm all the time. And my grandfather raised, he bred and raised Hereford, I believe is how you pronounce it, cattle. Then he stepped into Angus beef. And when he retired, he was doing Angus beef. And there was another one, I think it's Charolais bulls, I think is how you pronounce it. They're white. So he's done a couple different breeds. So Junior was part of the Hereford breed, or Hereford breed. I don't know. I think I'm mispronouncing it. But they're all red with white heads. That much I do know. So Junior's mom, it was her first calf. And sometimes you run a risk. Farmers will tell you that, especially with the first one, sometimes they get locked. And so the farmer has to make a decision on whether he's going to lose both the mom and the baby or just the mom. And it's a risky situation because if you don't move quick, you could lose them both. And you know, any farmer or cowboy I've ever spoken to that handles cattle will tell you you don't want to stress out your livestock. And they do the best they can to take care of their livestock. So Junior got locked, and his mom couldn't get him out. And so my grandfather hollered at this was what my grandmother had told me, but my grandfather hollered out at my grandmother to call the vet, to get the vet out immediately. So the vet comes out, and he goes, we don't have long. Like, you need to make a decision quick. So he said, we're going to just save the calf. So they move quickly. From what I understand how they do this, I wasn't there, so I just was told third hand, basically. They have to euthanize mom quickly, but if you don't move quickly, you're going to lose the calf. And so as mom's fading, you take the calf out. Then you cut the umbilical cord and save the calf. So the medication doesn't get to the calf. And so my grandmother bottle fed, she named him Junior, which my grandfather kept telling her, you don't name livestock. You don't. And anybody that is a farmer, handles livestock, will tell you you don't get attached to your livestock because, and this is just how I grew up, and some of y'all may not agree with this, but this is just reality. Your food does not come from the store. It comes from the farm to the store to your table. Well, out on the farm, it comes from the farm to table. That's just how it goes. I mean, that's just where food comes from. Well, I got attached to Junior. Every weekend I went out, and I saw my grandparents at least every other weekend. So every weekend I went out, we bottle fed Junior 3 times a day. When he got a little bit older, I would play with Junior. And just, I got attached. It's true. I got attached to the bull. And then when he got bigger, they've got pictures of me riding this bull. He was and I would walk next to him when he was a bull, and full grown 3,000 pound bull. And he was such a good natured bull. He was kind of like a little dog. Well, a big dog. I liked him. He was a pretty bull. Well, spring rolled around, and we'd had Junior for 2 years. Spring rolled around, and my grandfather said, it's time to take him in. I didn't know what that meant, my grandmother. I knew something was off because my grandmother wasn't happy about him taking Junior in, but it's just that's just part of reality when you're out on a farm. So we loaded up a bunch of cattle, and I got so excited because I thought Junior was was going to be in a show. So I put on a summer dress. I put on my jelly sandals, which was so big back in the 80s. I love my jelly sandals. And I got so excited. And we were at the auction barn for a long time because he had loaded up other calves to auction off. And, you know, that's how it goes. You breed them, you auction them off, you make your money, because you can't keep all of them, because then you're going to have crossbreeding, which contaminates your meat. And you run the risk of having, you know, all sorts of birth defects and stuff of that nature. So we were at the livestock for quite a while, or the sale barn we call it here, and it was time to go, and I kept looking for Junior and never saw him load up. But what I did see load up in the back of the truck were white packages. I didn't know what that was. So we get home, and that night my grandmother made, of all things, hamburgers. Oh, this is such a bad story. But it happened to me. It really did. And I just kept on and on and on about Junior. Where's Junior? Where's Junior? Where's Junior? Because I was ready to go pet him. I was waiting for him to come up to the fence, and he never came. So my grandfather said, all right, I've had about all this I can handle. And my grandmother said, don't you say a thing. And he said, no, it's time for her to learn. She has got to understand. Cattle are not your pets. They are livestock. They are food and to be used to be bred for. That's what that is. And so he said, what are hamburgers made of? And I said, meat. Where does that meat come from? I said, cows. What was Junior? I said, cow. And I sat there for a minute. And he goes, you ain't putting this together? And then it just clicked. And I remember crying and ran away from the table. And my grandmother was agitated at him for saying that. But years later, years later, when she was in the nursing home, and she would sometimes, when I would tell stories, up until the last 6 months, when I would tell stories, it would jog her memory. And I remember talking about telling that story. That was one of the stories I told. And my grandmother leaned forward, and my grandfather was sitting on one side. I was sitting in the middle, Grandma was sitting on the other side. And I remember her leaning forward, and she looked over at him and rolled her eyes and just shook her head. And he goes, to this day, your grandmother has not got over me doing that to you. And he said, but did you learn a lesson? I said, I'll tell you what, from that moment on, I never, ever looked at livestock as pets. You know, it changed my whole view of livestock. I mean, it's food. And, you know, I know some of y'all are like, oh my God, that's so bad. But it's the South. I mean, it's just what we do. It's what you grow up knowing and understanding is that they're not your pets. And I know that sounds bad, but lesson learned. I never viewed cattle the same way after that, ever. So that's kind of a short one today. I didn't want to tie up too much of y'all's time because I know it's a holiday. And of all holidays, maybe I should have picked a different story. But it's what we went with today. So, I hope y'all have a wonderful holiday. Remember, please and thank yous are a must. Smile never hurt no one. Please be cognizant of the things you say and how you say them, because kindness is always priceless. All right, y'all. Have a great holiday, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.